Hey y'all, Jimmy Red here with the Redline Sports Talk. Got an interesting show for you guys this week here. I'm going to try something here. Going to go solo. So we're going to see what we can do. We're going to talk a little LA, Paul George stuff, little NCAA football, little NFL. We're going to start off though with the Paul George LA deal. Magic Johnson got in trouble for apparently tampering with Paul George. They're looking into it. The Pacers are the one that filed this deal to the NBA regarding it. They're looking into it to see what they can find. There's a lot of potential stuff that can happen to LA there. I mean, LA can lose draft picks. They can also lose, up to $5 million. They can possibly even lose their shot of getting Paul George as a player down the road. And the people from LA who did it can, be suspended. It's pretty bad. But for me, being a Pacers fan and enjoying Paul George, it would hurt to see Paul George not happy. But at the same time, I think it would be nice. It would be a nice surprise for LA to set on and see. You wonder why there's such a big deal on this one. Well, it's because he's a rock star player. But at the same time, there's always tampering going on in the NBA. There has to be. Because all of these players, you wonder how they sign these deals right after, at midnight, a free agency. Like, hey, bang, he's signing. Oh, hey, here's his contract. But they're not tampering. There has to be discussions at some point when under contract or not. It's against the people in the front office. Magic Johnson had to go to tampering classes to learn what he could not and could do. The players can do whatever they want. Draymond is the one who talked to Durant to bring Durant to Golden State. It wasn't the front office. It was Curry, Draymond, and all of them. So players can do whatever they want at their leisure, but the front office has to follow the rules. It's completely different rules than Magic used to as a player when he played in LA. He didn't have to worry about that. Now as a general manager, he's got to worry about everything. General manager, presidents, they got way different standards than a player does. So you always wonder how that happens. Well, it's really going to put a huge damper on LA if Paul George can't come there. Because they had big plans, obviously. Plans of possibly landing LeBron James. There's tweets going on out there about that. Hey, happy birthday, buddy. All that stuff. And LA is my home and all of that stuff. Well, there's big clues that he might land there. Well, if they can get LeBron with Paul George, Lonzo Ball out there in LA, they have a powerhouse team. So now you don't land Paul George. Does LeBron go to LA? Rumors are starting to spread now that if that does happen, guess who's coming from Chicago to join LeBron in Cleveland? That's right, Dwayne Wade. Will he go there? There's a good chance. There's already rumors going around he could land there by middle of this season. I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with the NBA season. Sounds crazy already. But that's just my take on that. Let's switch over to the NCAA here. NCAA kickoff's about to start. August 26, 2017. Kicking it off, you got Oregon State versus Colorado State. I don't know about you guys. I'm just excited that football's back. May not be the biggest matchup there is, but I'm excited. There's a whole bunch of matchups that weekend. I think there's like 40-some games that weekend. But there's only like 5 games that mean anything. You got the Michigan and Florida game. Michigan's 11 and Florida is 17. You have UCLA and Texas A&M, West Virginia versus Virginia Tech, and then you have the marquee matchup of them all, Alabama and Florida State. You have 2 Heisman Trophy kids. Actually, you have 3 in one game. So that's pretty big. The reason it's big is it's big for all 3 of those players. Because Bo Scarborough can really make a name for himself, which he's already made, and he can show what he can do against a very good defense. Also, Jalen Hurts can do the same thing in the passing game. The other one, on the other side of the ball, DeAndre Francois. That kid is good. All 3 of them are Heisman Trophy candidates to go for it this year. And you put them in week 1 against each other, that's the hardest matchup, I think, that Alabama's had in Nick Saban's tenure at Alabama. I mean, if you look at the teams he's played in his 10 years there at Alabama, I mean, who's he played? He played, let's see here, his first year there, he played Western Carolina. they're not even a conference school in that league. Not even the number one a D1 conference. Then they played Clemson. Clemson went 7-6 that year, barely 500. Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech was pretty good that year. They went 10-3. They only beat them by 10, 34-24. The next year, San Jose State won one game. Nobody even cares. Then you got Kent. Okay, they won 5. Then you go to Michigan, but this was pre having Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has turned a lot of stuff around there. Different. If they would have played with Harbaugh there, I think it would have been a way different outcome in that game because the players would have played a lot better. But who knows? Then they played Virginia Tech again. Then they played West Virginia, Wisconsin, and USC. Everybody says USC, USC. Well, they got Sam Darnold. Okay. They had Sam Darnold last year. I understand. That's fine. But Sam Darnold didn't come on until about 6 games into the season. If you guys remember correctly, USC started the season 1-4. 1-4. They were not a good starting team. They just got hot and went and won. Sam Darnold is a great player. Great. Don't get me wrong. Almost won the Rose Bowl. The kid got better as the game went on. He didn't just say, "Hey, I'm gonna roll over and quit. We're getting beat. Just roll over." No, the kid wanted it. He kept fighting. He went for it. He dug. He fought. He went. He did everything he could to go win this matchup. Now he's the Heisman Trophy favorite. He's at a 9-2 odds to win the Heisman. To me, it's pretty incredible. Another reason that game is big is because that makes the SEC have to win because that shows how weak they can and can't be. Because think about this matchup here. You got Florida versus Michigan. Big Ten versus SEC. If Michigan beats Florida, the SEC loses. It's one for Big Ten. UCLA, Pac-12 versus Texas A&M. SEC. If the SEC loses that game, they look bad again. Then you have the Alabama-Florida State game. Alabama is the only one in that conference that even remarks a team that is probably capable of doing anything in a championship of the SEC this year. I mean, you have LSU, who's got first-year head coach, first year as the head coach because last year is interim, Coach Ed Orgeron. And he's got a very good offense and good defense. And if they play a scrappy game like a 13-12 or a tight game, I think they have a shot against Alabama. But if they can't shut down Alabama on the offensive side of the ball, they have no shot. Then you say Auburn. Well, Auburn got lucky. Auburn is a 7-6 team or an 8-5 team. And the reasons I say that is because if you look at all the records that they have, they were 1 field goal away in the Iron Bowl against Alabama when they returned that kickoff all the way back to the end zone to win it, to go to the national championship and not win. And then there's one name, junior college kid Cam Newton. That kid turned that program around, went and won the Heisman Trophy, won a national championship, and that put Auburn back on the map. I mean, they're open this season as a number 11 AP poll rank. That's the next highest to Alabama SEC school. 11th. It's a pretty big gap. Then you got Georgia in there, but Florida's in there, Tennessee's in there. There's quite a few of them in there. Problem is, not the powerhouse conference. You got the Big Ten. The Big Ten's got a lot of power. They got Wisconsin. They got Ohio State, Penn State. Let's see here. Who else do we got? I mean, the Big Ten is loaded. I mean, they even have, Michigan, obviously. That's my favorite, so I forgot about them. Michigan, I think, is possibly going to beat Ohio State this year. I mean, I think they have a shot to do it, and I think they'll find their way in to the Final Four. If not, they're going to go 10-3, and they would just sneak inside to the Rose Bowl. And I don't think they have enough to pull it out because they'll play somebody out there that's really tough. I think they'll end up playing like a UCLA or USC from out there, and I don't think they can pull it out. I mean, Josh Rosen or Sam Darnold will be way too tough. They've both proven they know what to do in a bowl game. Rosen was hurt last year, so we didn't get to see him much. Struggled, but Arnold has already proven what he can do. William Sprite, he's good, but he lost a lot of power in his players. This is Jim Harbaugh's first recruit class. Hopefully he brought in some good players, which it seems he did. ACC, they got a lot of powerhouses over there. They have Florida State, Clemson. Florida State opens up at 3. They got an awesome quarterback in DeAndre Francois. And then Clemson opens in at 5 after losing their awesome star quarterback in Deshaun Watson. Tells you something about Clemson there. It tells you they got a really strong team, and Dabo has worked really hard to get that team back to the level of winning a championship because he knows what that feeling was and wants another one. And what can you say? You can't blame a man who wants to win, right? So that's a lot on there. That's just how I feel. And if Alabama also loses that game, they are 0-2 against the ACC in the last 2 games. Think about it. They were seconds away from winning national championship. Seconds. And they couldn't stop them. So if you go and lose to a Florida State now, stinging. Florida State will then, if they beat Alabama, jump to number 1 in the AP poll. I mean, the AP poll was released, and Alabama had 52 of the first place votes. Florida State had 4. Ohio State 3, USC 2. They know that they have the talent on that team. I think they can do it. Either way, Alabama will go to the SEC championship game and probably advance because they're a Power 5 conference. With this loss, they'll advance and they'll still make the playoffs. They'll maybe a 3 seed or a 4 seed, but they still make the playoffs. You can't take Alabama out of it because they're going to be there. All you're going to do is put one L in the column and show everybody that they can be beat. Well, that's going to make Nick Saban work even harder. Everybody knows he doesn't like to lose. He's only lost, I think, 16 or 9. I think it's 16 games in his college career over there. He doesn't like to lose. He likes to win. He's a winner. That's what he's there for. He wants to win. That's who Nick is. Let's talk about the Heisman a little bit here. You know, the odds came out, and they were talking about who all the favorites were. You know, they had Sam Darnold. He's a 9-2 to win it. Then you got last year's winner, Lamar Jackson, at a 10-1. You got last year's runner-up, Baker Mayfield, at a 10-1. And you got J.T. Barrett at a 12-1. Everybody thinks Sam Darnold is a lock. Like, hey, Darnold's going to win. Darnold's going to win it. Yeah, he looks good. He looks really good. And I'll give you that. The kid came in strong at the end of the year. But we always have a person we love at the start of the year. We always do. Who was it last year? Everybody knows. Christian McCaffrey. Everybody said, Christian McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey had an all right year. But where did this Lamar Jackson guy come from? Wow. Yeah, exactly. Nowhere. Within the Heisman, there's been 71 players who have had 20-1 odds or better. 20-1 odds or better. Only one of those players has won the Heisman. 1 out of 71. That's a very, very small margin. And that person to do it was Marcus Mariota in 2014, and his odds were 6-1 when the season opened. And he wins the Heisman. So that pretty much says that it's going to be very hard for these guys to win it. I'm not putting nothing mean against Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson will probably be sitting there in New York. He has to be sitting there in New York, and the reason is he's defending. I mean, that would have been like saying, Jameis, hey, you're defending Heisman Trophy winner. You don't need to be in New York. Or saying, hey, Tim Tebow, you're the defending Heisman Trophy winner. You don't need to be in New York. Or, hey, Johnny Manziel, you're the defending champion. You don't need to be in New York. No. The man's there for a reason. He has talent. But I'm not saying that talent's going to go over to the NFL. Just saying the man has talent in college. So you respect that. And you put him there where he belongs. So I believe he's one of the 4, Lamar Jackson. You have to put him in there. If Baker Mayfield's there or not, any of them, you have to do it. So that's my belief. People that you cannot overlook on that list, you know, Josh Rosen is a 15-1. So his shot to win it is a little lower. He has a little better shot, but he's still inside that threshold. He's still inside the 20-1 odds. So he's got his hands wide open too, and especially after being hurt last year, that's really going to hurt his chances a lot. Then you have people to not forget about. You got Bo Scarborough. Running backs. Everybody loves running backs. I mean, look at him. If you're a running back, you put up a lot of yards, a lot of numbers. And being like Bo Scarborough with the offensive line he has at Alabama, you're golden. All you got to do is hand the ball off to him. The kid's going to go get 5-10 yards. That's all you have to do. But he's a 20-1 odd to win the Heisman. So you can't overlook him. Also can't overlook the kid who's the running back in Georgia, Nick Chubb. Yep, 25-1. I thought he was a sure lock to go at least to the finals last year. He was one of my picks to do it. Didn't make it there. Hopefully he has a better year this year. He's outside the threshold of the players you need to look at. The big one for me is one that a lot of people don't know a lot about. The kid's name is Quentin Flowers. He's out of Southern Florida. Really good. He's a dual threat quarterback. You don't really hear a whole lot about him. He has 207 completed passes out of 330. That's pretty good. That means his completion rate was 62.5. It's a pretty good completion rate. He threw for 2,800 yards. He had 24 TDs and 7 interceptions. He rushed for 41 yards less than the Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson did. He plays in a smaller school. He won the Offensive Player of the Year last year in the ACC. You can't forget that kid. A lot of people are overlook him. He's an 80-1 odds to win it, but you can't overlook him to win it. He's the one who's on my list as one of the favorites. I moved him up the ranking a lot after I saw that stat of the 71 people and only one has done it. He really jumped high up my list, and that's when I really took a thought on Josh Rosen, thinking, Josh Rosen's really good, but he's in that threshold. Will we have another person who goes in that threshold? But there's always that player that everybody just falls in love with halfway through the year. Oh, look at him. Oh, look at him. Oh, he's good every time. So it's going to be hard. It's really hard to predict what they're going to do. I mean, nobody knew about Cam Newton when he was at Auburn. Comes in and does it. Johnny Manziel, same way. Tim Tebow. Who would ever thought Tim Tebow was going to go win the Heisman Trophy that year? I didn't. I'll tell you right now, I had no idea. So I was very, very excited to see those stats and know that there's a chance that we could put number 2 on the board this year. That would be pretty cool to me. So we'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. So a few things on the NFL I want to touch bases on right now. The Browns. Wow. It's pretty cool right there, the Browns. They went 0-4 in the preseason last year. And this year they're 2-0. They have officially won games. It may be preseason, but they've won games. Deshaun Kaiser's played. Looked really good. I think Deshaun Kaiser is one of the kids that, I'm not saying he's going to turn them around, but he's going to at least make the team look a little bit better. They jumped up to get him in the draft. That's awesome. No, they didn't jump up. They just got him in this. They got him in the second round, which was, I think, a really good pickup for them. I mean, they just played. They beat 2 good teams. I mean, they beat the Saints. Obviously, Drew Brees didn't play. And then they just beat the Giants. So they beat good teams. So I think the Browns might be a surprise this year. I'm not saying they're going to come in and set the world on fire, but I'm saying they could come in and probably win 5 or 6 games. They're not going to be the worst team. They're going to do better than the Jets. I think they'll do better than the Jets. They'll do better than the Jags because Bortles is struggling, and he might not even have the job because Chad Henne could take it from him. So he'll do better than them. I mean, look at what the Raiders did. Raiders came in out of nowhere and stormed the scene. I'm not saying the Browns are going to do that. But I'm saying the Browns will not be the worst team in the NFL next year. They will win probably, I'd say, 4 games at least. Especially the way they're playing in preseason right now. I mean, that's my pick. Also in that game, against the Giants, Odell Beckham Jr. took a clean but low hit. It was clean but low. And then he starts rolling around on the ground and screaming and yelling and throws the ball at the defender and lets everybody know, I'm Odell. And then he gets up and runs off the field. Like nothing happens. He gets almost all the way back to the locker room, gets almost all the way there, and realizes there's a photographer, and he falls down. He's almost there, and he falls down just because he wants attention. That's all he is. He's an attention guy. I'm telling you, that's all Odell Beckham is. He's an attention guy. That's all he wants from you. He wants attention. Would I build a franchise around him? No. Attention is all he wants. I mean, he went out and got that shoe deal, which I think is awesome for an NFL player to do, but that shows attention. He also does all this stuff. He proposed to the kicking net. He makes all these big gestures and gets into it with Josh Norman all the time. Just wild stuff with this guy. And he wants to be the center of attention. That's all he wants to be. Like, if there's something going on, he wants to be right there. He's the guy who walks around and has all this gold around his neck and just states, hey, this is who I am. Look at me. Bang. I'm Odell Beckham Jr. I'm the attention guy. Well, interesting tidbit. Odell, when you have over 100 yards, your Giants have a losing record, bud. I don't want to have a losing record. I know the Giants don't want to have a losing record. That catch you had where you jumped up like this, grabbed that ball one-handed, that was amazing. I don't know if people realized or remember, but you lost that game too. You're a flashy player, which that's what the fans like. And that's why they're going to keep you. Because when you think NFL now, you think Odell Beckham Jr. Because that's what the kids like is a flashy. You think Cam Newton's, that's what the kids like. They don't think, the guy who sits in the pockets and throws these footballs like Tom Brady. Everybody's like, oh, I don't like Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the one that looks really good in the NFL. He knows how to play it, and he's doing it correctly. So, they're going to keep him because it's going to bring a lot of people there just because of Odell. I think it's not the right thing to do because of just one person, but that's fun. The Ezekiel Elliott deal is still out there. He appealed his 6-game suspension. His hearing is August 29th. 6 games is what they're looking at. The cool thing about that is he really does have a pretty good shot at getting that dropped to a minimum number or it just staying at 6 and not going up. Because the same guy the guy who's hearing the case is Harold Henderson. I don't know if you know who Harold Henderson is, but Harold Henderson is a guy who heard the deal against Adrian Peterson with his deal when he whooped his son out in the front yard, which they called abuse, and upheld his deal. But he also heard Greg Hardy's deal and took Greg Hardy's deal from a 10-game to a 4-game. He played for Dallas too, so maybe this guy got a soft spot in his heart for Dallas. Maybe he's got a soft spot for people who just understand. Not really sure. But we'll see. So that's pretty cool to know that Zeke might have a shot to get that drop down to 4 or 2 games. If Zeke gets that drop, I think that dramatically changes Dallas' season. I mean, they have obviously they got an awesome running back setup. I mean, you have Alfred Morris, you have Ronnie Hillman, they got Darren McFadden. So they're not struggling there. I mean, McFadden will be the starter, then you'll have Alfred Morris and Ronnie Hillman in that order. So they're not struggling at all in the running back position. But Zeke puts it to the whole new level. Being that young kid who's quick and fast that can just hit in between the tackles and go behind the best offensive line in football, I think that's going to look really good. Some more on Zeke. TMZ had a thing saying that they saw Zeke out on a lake in North Texas. He was out there on a boat. On an off day, needless to say, off day. He's not even supposed to be anywhere. Off day. The whole team's off. And he's out there, and there's girls out there on the boat. They're all in bikinis, which, they make a big deal out of it because that's one of the reasons why he's having this hearing is because he pulled some girl's top down. That's one of the reasons they're making a big deal out of it. He's a grown man. He's out there on the lake on an off day. They also said, hey, he didn't drink any alcohol. Okay, he's a 23-year-old adult. He's 23 years old. Did he drive a vehicle afterwards? No. If he didn't drive the boat and he didn't drive a vehicle, which he may have drove a vehicle, which if he did, very awesome that he did not drink and drive. That's a very good class to the young kids looking up to him. So, is it a crime for him to go out on a day off and have fun with girls on a boat at 23 years old? No, that's not a crime. What do most 23-year-olds do? They go to the bar, they go hang out, they drink with their friends. I can tell you right now, if there's probably stats out there that say, if I had to guess, I'd say probably 40% of the kids between the ages of somewhere between 21 and 25 have a DUI. Because they go out and they party with their friends and they try to drive. Well, at least Zeke set a good example to not do that. So I do give him kudos for that. And I don't understand why they're making such a big deal for him to be out on the lake with these ladies. It's the day off. What do you do on your day offs? I'm sure you go out and hang out with people. Hang out with your friends on the lake. Do whatever you want. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Also, Denver has said that they're going to use their starting quarterback to be Trevor Siemian over Paxton Lynch. Okay, I mean, I guess that's all right. They said he showed better numbers and looked better with the first team in playoffs. Please. I mean, come on now. You're telling me that Trevor Siemian, who's got a 59% completion rating, was a one-year starter at Northwestern, and he was a sixth-round pick, is going to be your starter over a kid that you want to make your franchise player. You moved up in the draft to get Paxton Lynch at 24. He might have accuracy problems right now, but that's fine. You got to give the kid time. You got to get him out there on the field. You got to teach him. I mean, we saw this happen before. Who else did we see it with? We saw it with Tebow. The exact same plays. Tebow started 16 games. 16 games Tebow started, and that's all he got. And he was gone. They kicked him to the curb. Johnny Manziel got himself in trouble. But his second year, man, got overlooked. You saw it happen. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen to Paxton, because Paxton Lynch is a really talented kid. And I think Paxton Lynch can take a team to the next level. See here. Bortles. I think Blake Bortles is starting to feel the pressure now. He knows that he's on the hot seat. A lot of good quarterbacks coming in from the draft. So he's really starting to feel it and know that he has to step his game up. So I'm really excited to see what Bortles does. I don't believe he's in Jacksonville next year. And if I have to go out on a limb and state it right now, I think the Bortles starts the first 3 games. He wins none of them. They pull him and put Chad Henne in, and Bortles gets traded or released by the end of that year. At the end of that year or by the end of that year, he's no longer with Jacksonville. And he signs with somebody as a backup. That's my last take right there. That's all I got. So thanks for tuning in. Tune in next week and see what I have to say here on the Red Line. Thanks.